Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new podcast here on Arsenal Aura. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a great time wherever you are. My name is Michael, and I'm here to talk about Arsenal. Hello, and welcome to a Champions League episode here on Arsenal Aura. Arsenal just beat Real Madrid 3-0. The game literally finished a couple of minutes ago, and we are here recording the podcast with Joe, or as you know him from Bluesky Social, that Arsenal guy. Good evening, Joe, and welcome back to the podcast.
Good evening. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, always a pleasure. So the game literally finished a couple of minutes. How are you feeling right now?
Not how I expected to be feeling after playing Real Madrid, honestly. Overjoyed, I guess, would be the word. Like, I did not expect that whatsoever. I thought we might come away with like a 1-goal win, maybe, but 3-0 is insane. Like, how are you feeling?
I think the word that describes best is a little bit speechless, although I'm recording this podcast, but absolutely, amazing performance and result. Of course, I think that especially after how, things went in the first half, we had a couple of chances. They had a couple of chances, but watching the game, I always felt that they were a little bit shaky, right? It didn't gave me the vibe of that Real Madrid, that scary Real Madrid. Of course, they have quality and they can always hurt you. But while I was watching the game, I thought that Arsenal might, go a little bit like an upper gear, and might push a little bit. So let's go a little bit through the first team. So I texted you before the game and kind of nailed the first team. Were there any surprises for you there?
I was surprised that Saka was risked from the start, honestly. Like, I wasn't sure that we would be seeing him for, as long as we did. I think it was the right call, ultimately. I mean, we won 3-0, right? But I'm worried about his fitness. He obviously had to go off. He did look a little injured, maybe ankle knock. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely the strongest 11 that we could have put out. And I think, absolutely performed. Like, they made the first half was, oh man, we were really missing a striker in the first half. Like, how did you feel about that first half? I was really nervous that we just weren't going to score at any point, and we were going to get hit on the break, and that was a 1-0 loss.
Yeah, you're right. And again, when I saw Saka, because you mentioned this, getting injured, and then having to come off, I got a little bit of chills on my spine. But I think, he was in the box, and he was like, I don't think it's serious. I think it was a little bit too much. He played for 70 something minutes. But yeah, we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. I just wanted to calm myself down with the thought that it isn't serious. But obviously, we'll find out. We'll find out in a couple of days. I think you're right. I think Saka had a little bit of a slow start, and I know it might be a little bit surprising given the fact that we won 3-0 and we shouldn't, complain about anything. This is just how I saw the game unfolded. And I think, he had that cross in the 60-yard box, right across goal, and there was nobody. Like, I thought to myself then, if we would have had a proper striker, that might have been the breaking the ice, And also, I think again, Real Madrid looked vulnerable from what I saw, right? I can understand the magnitude of the game. I understand we're talking about Real Madrid, who's a giant in Spain and Europe, but I think Arsenal were a little bit maybe shy, a little bit timid. Do you think, like, we looked a little bit nervous in the first half? Was it understandable?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at some of the players, you've got Miles Lewis-Skelly starting, obviously his first ever Champions League campaign, and he's thrust on against Real Madrid in the quarterfinals, and of course, he's nervous. Like, he absolutely ran the midfield, by the way, and I want to kind of dig into that later, but. We've got a lot of players on the pitch. Kivior, for example, of course he's going to be nervous. Raya hasn't been in this sort of position before. Martinelli's just back from injury. Saka's just back from injury. Marino's not a striker. Like, he's playing out of position against Real Madrid. Huge amounts of pressure on him. Ødegaard being the captain and maybe underperforming lately, huge amounts of pressure on him. There's no one on that pitch that isn't feeling like masses of pressure. So it's no surprise that, we started a little timidly. I honestly think we started better than I thought we were going to, and that we were making a lot of chances early on. But the timidness kind of showed in the 6-yard box, like you say, where there's just no one there. Like those Saka crosses and a couple of Martinelli crosses, and there was a Rice cross as well, where if someone just gets in, to the byline, or someone else maybe even just holds them run a little instead of everyone going to the byline, then we've got 3 or 4 tap-ins in the first half. It was absurd. We had 2 or 3 chances cleared off the line. Courtois made double save after double save. This was after about the half an hour mark, and I just felt like we were never going to score. It was going to take a miracle, which I mean ultimately it kind of did.
Yeah, you're right. And we went through the motions a little bit in the first half, but then we started to kick off, right? I think right at the beginning, Rudiger almost had an own goal. I think Saka forced that. He tried to clear across, and his clearance hit Camavinga in the back and went pretty close. Then we had that party shot on from the edge of the box, but he took his shot straight at Courtois. He should take some lessons from Rice. Saka, at one point Saka had a very nice pass in the box to Marino. Marino managed to get the ball, but he was a little tackled, or he missed the opportunity to do something. And I think a striker would have made more from that. And of course, absolutely zero, the disrespect to Marino. So that's nothing targeted, because he is a midfielder. But again, as you mentioned, I totally feel that we missed the striker, and we could have won this game like 5-6-0, and which is it's mind blowing to be honest. And there were a couple of scares in the first half. In the past couple of games, I saw too often Timber going down and holding his knee. That is a pretty scary sight, because I thought that Timber again had a great game. Madrid had a huge chance through Mbappe, but Raya saved. It was a pretty good save, I might add. And Saka came more and more to life after 30 minutes, and got involved a lot more. And as you mentioned, there was the double chance right before the break, Marino with a header and Martinelli with the left-footed shot. To be honest, there were good saves by Courtois, and he just got back from injury. So I think for a guy that is, 6 foot something, he's very tall, he got up surprisingly fast for how tall he is. I mean, looking at the replies, So going to the break 0-0 seemed a little bit harsh.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you look at the kind of quality of chances created, and our inability to finish, but versus kind of the Real Madrid chances, I mean, we should have I mean, a fair score at half time was probably 2, maybe 3-1 to Arsenal, right? If all of those sort of decent chances pay off. I mean, the game sort of went as I expected. I think we spoke about this before the match, where I said, like, I think we're going to control the game and they're just going to break over and over again, right? And that was a theme of the first half. It sort of changed a little bit in the second half. But yeah, it was there were some scary moments in that first half, absolutely. But I think the defense dealt really well with all of those counterattacks. Saliba was like an absolute rock. Kiwior didn't put a foot wrong at all. And then basically Partey kept dropping back into that sort of defence, and Miles Lewis-Skelly and Timber were actually pushing on into midfield a lot, which was meaning we were essentially just running the midfield. And whilst it didn't yield any results in the first half, in the second half, that's what completely changed the game, honestly. They had no build-up play. If you look at the amount of long passes, right, I think it was 5 long passes Arsenal the whole game, 27 long balls from Real Madrid, and it was really clear what they were trying to do. But you're not going to beat Saliba in the air. It just doesn't happen. So, yeah, I mean, at the break, like you say, 0-0 wasn't the result we wanted, but at least we hadn't conceded, right? At least gave us somewhere to start the second half.
So based on the first half performance, and everything that went through, what was your thinking in regards to the second half? Like, you thought we're gonna keep trying the same thing? Did you thought of some changes? Were you hoping to get a 0-0 draw? Was that a decent result in your mind? Was it like, it's a good result, or were you hoping to nick one until the end?
It's a tough one, right? Like, obviously, Real Madrid's had a lot of injuries, so their back four wasn't even close to their proper back four, and the midfield as well, because they got some of the midfielders playing in the defence. So I thought, okay, we need to come out of this game with a win, right? Because we're not going to get much stronger. As much as we've got injuries at the moment, those injuries aren't coming back this season, whereas some of the Real Madrid players might be back for the next game. So I thought, like, we have to win at least 1-0 here, or we're out of hope in the Champions League. So what I was hoping was going to happen at the very least, and maybe expecting, was us to get a goal from a set piece, more likely a corner than a free kick, but probably score from a corner or similar, and hopefully be able to stave off these sort of counter attacks. That's kind of where I was. Like, what were you expecting?
Yeah, and I do remember that you mentioned that we have height advantage on them. You mentioned that prior to the game. I was hoping, like, the first half, the chances that we had and the saves that Courtois had to make, it gave me a little bit of hope. And I was always, I don't know why, I have this thing, and I keep thinking that we might have a mistake in us, like, as you mentioned, Kiwior or Partey or someone, and to be honest, in the first half, just to touch a little bit on the referee, he wasn't as consistent. I thought he was kind of inclining more towards Real Madrid, because we had some questionable fouls that weren't given. So that was it didn't look good. He was a little bit better in the second half, the referee, but yeah, I don't think we should give him too much attention. So the second half started, right? And there was a moment early in the second half, before we get to all the goodies, right, where Martinelli got the ball on the left, and he wanted to try a dribble, but Arteta was right there on the touchline, and he started pointing like crazy towards infield, and Martinelli saw that, and he stopped his intention, and he passed the ball to Miles Lewis-Skelly. This was pretty evident. I don't know if you saw it or not, but it brings me to the point that I've made a couple of times on this podcast, and that's a little bit, maybe a little bit of overcoaching. Like, I truly enjoyed the games against Everton and Fulham where Martinelli seemed to remember how to dribble like a Brazilian. So that was a little bit, but okay, let's not bring a small thing to the table. We can discuss about it maybe some other time. And I think, Joe, in the 58th minute, I don't know what was your reaction. Mine was pretty, I was pretty excited when I saw the goal. If you remember in the first podcast you joined, I complained about the lack of goals from free kicks, and we had like a very weird statistic that showed that we haven't scored from a free kick for a couple of, I don't know, years, I don't know how many games, whatever. And I was sitting here watching the game, and I was naive, and I didn't think that we're keeping them for the Madrid game. It was silly for me. I'm sorry. So in the 58th minute, an incredible free kick from Declan Rice from around 30 yards, a perfect strike, right? How did you feel when you saw it? Did you feel relieved? Did you feel, like we finally scored from a free kick? Whatever. I mean, the free kick was very, very well taken.
I actually thought he'd missed initially. I thought he had just hit the side netting or something, and my eyes were deceiving me because I just did not expect us to score from that position. Yeah, I was stunned, honestly. I was celebrating like crazy, but stunned. To your last point on the lack of goals from free kicks. Obviously, Nico Jove has been listening to the podcast because otherwise why would he have changed his tactics? You clearly put a compelling argument forward. But no, honestly, where has that been, right? Declan Rice has never in his career scored a free kick. In his entire professional career, 338 games, he hasn't scored a free kick. He scores 2 in his 339th game. Must be his lucky number. I don't know. But absolutely absurd, incredible goal. I'm having a debate with some friends at the moment over which of the free kicks was better. And I don't know. What do you reckon?
I would go a little bit more towards the second. The first one was, it looked really good. But if you take a look at the replays from the second one, you can see the ball touching the post. So it's literally no chance. And Courtois, it was on his side, right? Because he shot the second one on the opposite side of the wall. So it was, power, because that's the thing, right? He was 30 yards out or something like that, right? So you don't necessarily need to finesse it. You can use some power, and obviously Rice, we saw that. And to your point about the set piece coach, about Nicolas Jover, we saw that Rice started to take corners, right, and free kicks, and you can see there's something there, right? So the way he strikes the ball, the effect, and everything else, just pure class.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got incredible technique, honestly. Him and Saka, when it comes to deliveries, unbelievable. I think the difference between the two, essentially, the first one is all about technique. To get that level of kind of curve on the ball and that close to the goal as well was just unreal. Whereas the second one was more, well, there was accuracy, obviously, but the power of it, maintaining that level of accuracy whilst hitting the ball that hard is incredibly difficult. So it's kind of this Messi versus Ronaldo argument almost, where it's technique versus power. But if you look at the second one, and this was absolutely 100% coached, if you look at how the wall opens up for the ball to go through, the Arsenal players just split and push the Real Madrid players out of the way. There was one angle in particular where it's really obvious. That is 100%. They've been practicing that. So this isn't that wasn't just some random occurrence where like, oh, Rice just feels like shooting today. No. This is 100% that was coached.
Yeah, and on the I was watching the game on a local TV station, and I think they showed the replays like at least 10 times. Whenever the game stopped for whatever reason, they kept showing both of the free kicks, and you can't stop watching and looking and admiring and be happy about it. Absolutely amazing. Congrats to the set piece coach and whoever come up with that. It was funny because the commentator that was discussing about the match, what he said in the second free kick, he said the Arsenal players are crazy if they don't leave Rice to take this one as well. And then the second goal came, which is amazing. And then in the 74th minute, another amazing finish from Merino. I think it was a very well taken goal, right? Like MLS has been star in this game. I truly liked the way he played, and did he play three positions tonight? Did he play left back, left center back, and left midfield, like number 8?
Yeah, he was everywhere. Like I'm not sure how many people will agree with me on this, but I think he was man of the match, Miles Lewis-Skelly, like by a long way, like above maybe Timber in second and then Rice in third, because he completely shut down their entire midfield. They could not deal with him inverting. So at the start, they put Mbappe basically in the middle of the kind of box defense that we put together. So you'd have the two centre backs and then Miles Lewis-Skelly and Partey. And Mbappe was basically just sat in the middle of that box trying to stop passes going into it, which was sort of working. And then in the second half, we changed it up a little bit, and Timber came in as well. Partey dropped a little, and then we had this, I don't know what shape, it was sort of diamond-esque shape at that point. And they just didn't know what to do. And all of our we completely controlled the midfield and the entire game from the second half, from that like tiny little tweak, because they couldn't get anywhere near us in midfield. Like, there's not many teams who can just absolutely dominate Real Madrid in terms of possession. I think we were at 70% possession at one point. Like, it's absolutely crazy. And I know you have some issues with overcoaching from Arteta, but this is absolutely all on Arteta, where he's seen where the weaknesses are. And he's understood that, Real Madrid have those injury issues in centre mid and in defence. And he's, okay, what we're going to do is we're just going to flood that midfield. They barely touched the ball in that central area of the pitch. They couldn't get anywhere near us. Partey was phenomenal. Miles Lewis-Skelly was phenomenal. Ødegaard barely played in the middle. He was everywhere but the middle for that very reason, right? Because we had all those players in there and he was the outball. And yeah, I just think you've got to give Arteta credit where it's due, and on this occasion he got the tactics absolutely spot on. I mean, maybe got a little lucky in that Rice scored 2 phenomenal free kicks that you can't really plan for, but in terms of setting up to win as opposed to setting up to be defensive and not concede, like, I think he made the right choices. Yeah,
absolutely agree. I like Arteta. Sometimes maybe I don't agree, but I'm so, I'm just an observer, right? I don't know what he knows, obviously. And, I think this was a masterclass on his part, exactly what you mentioned. And to go back a little bit to Miles Lewis-Skelly, I was extremely impressed with his performance. He seems so unfazed. He's 18. Sometimes I just think, what was I doing when I was 18? I wasn't playing in front of 60,000 people against Real Madrid in the Champions League quarterfinals. I mean, that's crazy. And the boy is built as a unit. And so many times at least a couple of times in the Madrid games, Madrid players try to push him off the ball and things like that, and they couldn't, and he has some attitude as well. I think it was around the 88th minute, Arsenal had a throw-in, and Real Madrid player gave Masu Skelly the ball, to restart the game fast, and the boy totally ignored him and went to take a ball from, I don't know, somewhere else, spending some precious seconds in doing so. Absolutely, I look at him and he's like a hidden gem, incredible. And he's going to be like, if now when he's 18, he's like this, I don't even want to think when he's going to reach his peak years. And he needs to get a new contract. I don't know what's the status of his contract, if he has a big one, but Andrea Berta, has to do something about it, because he absolutely deserves it. And he got an assist for the Merino goal. What did you thought of the Merino goal?
It was like watching Olivier Giroud again, honestly. It's such a hard thing to do, to hit a ball that bounces just before you hit it, whilst essentially running away from the goal and somehow directing it into the far corner of the goal. Like, unbelievably difficult thing to do. And yeah, like, Marino's got a really incredible technique, honestly, and I was not expecting that to go in. Like, it was more likely to fly into Rosette than go into the bottom corner like it did. So, I mean, in terms of difficulty of the chances, like, that was technically the most difficult goal of the three. Honestly, like, that was so hard to score from that position. So, I love Marino. I think he's such a good player. And people were like, "Oh, did we spend money on Marino and Calafiore and all these other players unnecessarily?" Well, like, if they're not here, then we don't win tonight, right? Maybe not Calafiore, obviously, but if Marino's not there, we do not win that game. Like, who's up front? Trossard? Trossard doesn't score that goal. Trossard doesn't get around like Marino does. He wouldn't put the pressure on the defenders, like Marino did. And yeah, I really like Marino. Not as a starter necessarily, not even as a striker necessarily, but he's got the right attitude. He's got the kind of win at all costs attitude, almost like Miles Lewis Skelly, 18-year-old, already has that kind of attitude, like you were mentioning a minute ago. And we just need more players like that. Even if they're not starters, we just need them in the squad, like a Jorginho type character. Like, he's not going to play every week, but having him around these players makes a massive difference.
Yeah, and it's funny because you mentioned a couple of things. So, yeah, now that you said you made a comparison with Giroud, I remember a couple of strikes that Giroud had with his left, with his right, similar to this. And yeah, you're totally right. It looks like a Giroud-esque goal if you want. And in regards to Jorginho, I don't know if you saw on the replays, but at one point, I think after the second Rice free kick, he was in disbelief. He put both hands on his head. He was like going mad, of like the how good the free kick looked. I mean, Jorginho, can score a free kick as well. We didn't see that too much for Arsenal, but if you remember some kicks, some free kicks that he had, he's a pretty good free kick taker as well. So Arsenal scored 3 goals in 16 minutes in the second half. And I think overall, right, so the result is absolutely amazing, is incredible. But the overall performance, I think it was very, very well thought by Arteta, and the players have performed very professional in keeping Real Madrid at bay. Of course, it's Real Madrid. Of course, they're gonna get some chances because they have very, very good individual quality and great players, but I think Camavinga, who I thought had a good game, was suspended already for the second leg because when he got the yellow card, he got a red card. That I don't think it changes anything. But I think Bellingham should have got at least a yellow card in this game. I think the referee wasn't kind of the highest quality for a Champions League quarterfinal, but it is what it is. I'm very excited and very hyped for this win. Now, before we close out, I just want to ask you, what are your thoughts about the second leg?
I think going to the Bernabeu is obviously a very different proposition to playing at home, especially for the younger players or the kind of less experienced players as well. A lot of it obviously relies on whether we have Saka fit, whether Timber is fit. That's going to make a huge difference to our outlook on that game. I would be surprised, considering the players that Real Madrid have out injured, and especially with Camavinga being out. Like they've basically got a midfield crisis at this point, because they've already got midfielders playing in defence. With Camavinga out as well, they've got some serious decisions to make around who they play in kind of CDM. I can't see them beating us 3-0, let alone 4-0, that they would need to actually just go through there and then. I think I'd be interested to see how Arteta sets up. It's a weird one, right? Like, I didn't expect us to be as good as we were, and I didn't expect Real Madrid to be as bad as they were. I think it really goes to show the kind of discrepancy in quality between kind of Premier League and La Liga, in that we play against teams like that, maybe not week in, week out, but like there's a lot of teams that have come to the Emirates with the similar sort of quality as Real Madrid. Like you play a Chelsea, you play a Man City, you play a Newcastle even, or an Aston Villa, and like they put up similar sort of fights in a fairly similar sort of style to what Real Madrid did, right? And I think I genuinely think that if it was our first team with no injuries versus their first team with no injuries, I still think we win that game, honestly, based on tonight's performance. So, yeah, I can't see anything but us going through. Maybe we lose 2-0 at Bernabeu, but I'm pretty sure we score a goal, especially if they've got a arguably weakened version of the team that went out today. So I'm very confident we go through. I'm sort of already thinking about, was it Villa and PSG in the next round? Honestly, I'd rather have Paris Saint-Germain than Villa.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, for me as well. I don't want to think too much ahead, but just thinking that we might get Villa and get a bad result against them with Martinez and whatever else. No, I don't want to think about that. Yeah, I'm happy that you are confident of going through. I should be as well. I'm looking forward to the second leg. Obviously, it's going to be a huge game. I'm curious as well if we're going to set up to catch them on the counter, with the speed of Martinelli and the, kind of quick transitions and whatever else. It might be, I don't know exactly, but, Ancelotti is a really good coach. I don't know if he still is. He was an extremely good coach, but they might want to show, hey, it was a bad performance. It was a one-off in the first half. Although, in La Liga, they're, kind of losing to some bad teams. So not sure if it's quite a one-off. I think, Arsenal are pretty good in defense. Like, it's a statistic, right, that it says we conceded the least goals, I think, in the Prem and in the Champions League as well. So
yeah, I think it's 6 goals in the Champions League so far this season.
I think so, and it shows something, right? I mean, it would be weird to have the least amount of goals conceded and go to Bernabeu and concede like, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, whatever. I don't think it will happen, and I think we have the ability to score, as you mentioned, on free kicks or on corners or anything else. I think we can do this, and I think that Arteta, the fact that he rested some players against Everton, I think it was the right call, and I also think he will rest players against Brentford. So I expect Sterling to start again. I expect Noneri and Jorginho and whatever else. I expect them to start against Brentford, so he can rest some of the starters. I'll let you enjoy the win. I'll go enjoy the win as well. Amazing performance, amazing game played by Arsenal. I think it was a lot of hype, prior to this game, and I think Arsenal delivered, and Rice delivered, and he recently turned 26 years old in January, I think. So I think he's reaching his peak, and it's great times. I think as you mentioned, we can take a look into the semifinals already. We can look a little bit relaxed and watch the game against between Villa and PSG. So, Joe, thank you so much for joining in, for tuning in. I'll love to have some more episodes with you. Let's hope we have an excellent game against Real Madrid in the second leg, and we have something great to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, just final thought from me. I've been an Arsenal fan for 30 years. This is, one of the biggest, absolutely best wins, certainly in Europe, that we've ever had in that time. It's up there with the 2-1 against Barcelona with Arshavin scoring that amazing goal. It's up there with that 1-0 Real Madrid win with Henry. We haven't had this for so long. So to all the Arsenal fans out there, enjoy it, please. This doesn't happen every day. Absolutely, just savor this moment. Yeah,
and I'm sure they will. Joe. Thank you so much again for joining in. Thank you so much to everybody for listening. Enjoy, and we'll talk to you next time. All the best, guys.